I think it's very easy to see protest as something negative, like violence or misbehaving as a citizen. For those of us who aren't threatened by unjust laws. And it's very easy to see protest as simply disruptive if you're not disrupted by unjust laws. For some of us, protests may not be dignified. There's shouting, there's raising your voice. And if you were like me yesterday, you're like fighting with the wind to hold on to your sign, and your chair blows over and all that stuff. Or protesting may scare you, which is perfectly understandable. If you hold your sign, if you protest, if you complain, will folks get mad? Will you be arrested? Will you remain safe? And sometimes protests have turned into riots and property damage, and that's how they're remembered. And what's not always remembered, though, is the injustice that inspired the protest in the first place. MLK Jr. said that a riot is the language of the unheard. For those who don't face injustice on a day-to-day basis, or who don't allow ourselves to be disturbed by injustice and violence, protests may seem alien or lacking dignity or even disloyal. Something that perhaps we can't imagine engaging in, and thus something Jesus wouldn't engage in. But I preach today that the Savior we worship was a Messiah who called out all sorts of injustice, who preached all kind of good and challenging news to his listeners, and his whole life was a protest against all sorts of evil and corruption, not just of the powerful, but corruption of the soul. Now, if there isn't a chance ever that you would engage in a form of protest, whether that's immense discomfort or physical limitations, and you're thinking, Pastor Alice, this sermon is wasted on me. Well, remember your own power and the actions you can take. How can you educate yourself on the issues of justice? How can you make yourself uncomfortable on purpose and listen to those who experience injustice and believe them? A big question for me is, how can I disrupt my day-to-day life and allow my heart to be broken by what's happening in our world?